And I'm Deepthi Sachdeva with you. In the last few hours, there have been back-to-back updates that have come in from Kabul. At a point where evacuations, remember, still continue, there were reports earlier this evening of a rocket strike reported from a residential area extremely close to the airport. Now, that rocket strike has led to the death of a child. One more person has reportedly been injured there. We still do not know which group is responsible for the attack. But then back to back, there were reports of the US airstrike also on a van carrying suicide bombers of the ISIS Khorasan module that wanted to actually inflict damage very close to the Kabul International Airport. So all this has happened in a day's work at a point where you're looking at the Afghanistan situation that still continues to be on the boil. There are clear, direct questions today that go out to the US, that go out to Pakistan and to the world in general. Who's responsible for the mess today that Afghanistan is in, and what happens post-August the 31st? Let's quickly bring together everything that has happened today on the day's top focus story, and then we'll debate.
At around 6:03 p.m., residents of Gulai area of Khaje Bagra in Kabul's 11th security district witnessed a huge explosion. The explosion is believed to be caused by a rocket attack in the residential area. Initial reports suggest 2 people were killed while 3 more were injured in the blasts. A child is also reported to be among the casualties. The visuals here show clouds of smoke in the skyline of the capital. Another visual shows the commotion and panic around the site of the blast. Children can be seen running away from the site, possibly after being stunned by what they witnessed. Men in the adjacent buildings can be seen trying to douse the flames caused by the blast. The blast comes just hours after US President Joe Biden issued a security threat around the airport. The US President had also warned of retaliation to heinous attacks by terrorists. The US reportedly confirmed that they had carried out an airstrike to target an ISIS Khorasan terrorist's vehicle who was on his way to launch a suicide attack at the airport. The situation in Afghanistan continues to remain volatile as evacuations enter the last leg. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
So remember, even as the world today is watching what's happening and unfolding today in Afghanistan, who really has to be held responsible? Those are important questions of accountability, I think, that we'll try to answer during the course of this conversation. As I just want to introduce our entire panel that you see on your screens. Tariq Fateh is an author joining us on the broadcast from Canada. Major Manik Jolly is a geopolitical and defense analyst on the broadcast from Delhi this evening. Colonel Rohit Dev is also a geopolitical and defense analyst on the broadcast, along with Anders Kors, who's a publisher of the Journal of Political Risk. He's on the broadcast live from the UK this evening. Parviz Mossamin is a journalist joining us on the broadcast from Jakarta. Dr. Simi Bukhari is from the PTI. And Brigadier Said Nazir is Senior Associate of the Institute of Policy Studies in Islamabad and defense expert. And Yasir Masood, a foreign affairs and geopolitical expert, is also completing our panel, joins us on the broadcast from Islamabad. Before I come to any one of you, and I do know that Colonel Rohit Dev and Major Manik Jolly would want to, jump in here because we would be wanting to look at the big India picture. But I want to get in Dr. Simi Bukhari here. Dr. Simi Bukhari, do you know what your DGISPR said? Do you know what Imran Khan has spoken about Taliban? I mean, how can you justify your DGISPR saying that, listen, we have nurtured the Taliban and we'll do anything and everything possible in the next few weeks to days to help the Taliban? Really?
Hi. I just want to explain that we never nurtured the Taliban and we have never spoken for this kind of solution. We like the Americans, always for past 20 years they've been attacking, and the Taliban, they themselves, they admit, their foreign minister admitted herself that we nurtured the Taliban. We were the ones who brought them up, and now they are fighting against us. So Pakistan, actually we are the neighbors, and that's why we have to look after other neighborhood. We are not supposed to, and nor our army chief didn't say anything like this, that we have nurtured them, and we actually being neighborhood of Afghanistan, we have to help our neighbors. That's the only thing we are helping. If they are coming to Pakistan, they are
listen, ma'am. Taliban is a terror organization, period. I do not care whether you believe that the Taliban is legitimate or not, and that is none of my business. And I do not want you to, sit here on the broadcast and actually spread falsehood, because your DG ISPR has said this verbatim. We'll try to pull out his reaction so you can actually refresh your memory, because, the problem, the root cause, Colonel Rohit Dev, starts with Pakistan. The root cause is not a part of the solution as the US thinks.
You're right.
So, do you think that Pakistan is the root cause of all this thing happening in Afghanistan? How could you say that?
Please,
you cannot blame Pakistan.
Course. Ma'am, I am Colonel Rohit Dev. You will take one more generation at least, to be born again, to become a colonel. So please, let me have my say. So let me tell upfront, and I can be sued for it by the lady on the channel. Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism in the world, period. ISIS, Khorasan, Al-Qaeda, Haqqani Network, LET, TTP, you name whatever you want to name it, right from Mr. Pervez Musharraf, who's lying on a deathbed in London, to everybody else has said it publicly. So the reiteration by the DG ISPR is not music to my ears, is not news to my ears. The problem statement here, Deepthi, is that when the pullout was announced publicly in Doha as per some agreement, even in June this year, June 2021, there is a UN report 486. I would request the lady to read that as well, wherein the influx of 8 to 10,000 terrorists right across from the northern Caucasus of Russia to Xinjiang province and Pakistan have been named in terms of ushering the terrorists into the AFPAC region and beyond into hinterland of Afghanistan to create this disruption. The people who stormed into Kabul, people who stormed into Herat, were mostly also of Pakistan origin. Your channel has shown even the identity cards of Pakistani military was found when they were trying to isolate Panjshir. Pakistan traditionally has utilized the money given by the US to fight a Cold War against Russia from that era. Its tab was shut somewhere in this millennium due to the proactive stance of countries like India and the UN. And today, as part of the deal, my only concern is how is the equipment, arms and ammunition of US origin going from Afghanistan through the AFPAC region back into Pakistan, whereas everybody in Pakistan from day one, as if they were the creators of the story from Imran Khan and below, have been tom-tomming and hailing the Taliban, hailing a terrorist organization. I'm not too sure what the governance model of Afghanistan will be tomorrow, in next 6 months, 8 months, 2 years, 10 years, what kind of a liberalism they will have and what component of Taliban will be in that government. And obviously when the world acknowledges that government, India might also acknowledge. But today, as we speak, it's a terrorist organization. And the kind of attacks, even after making a deal and pumping in cash in billions to these terrorists, I'm quite afraid the money has exchanged hands and gone even into Pakistan. You read anything, right from 1970s, when Ziaul Haq made Brigadier Malik write that Quranic concept of war. This lady and any panelist from Pakistan or even UK can read that book. I can gift it to you. Please read that book and tell me which chapter of that book is not being played today in terms of Pakistan intent to side with terrorists, to create terrorists, and to put the world under the sabotage of terrorist actions. That book is the bread, butter, whatever you can call it in religious faction, the book on which the edifice of terrorism has been written by Pakistan. And US had manipulated that intent in 80s and 90s and beyond to ensure that
Okay.
Russia lost its credibility in Afghanistan. But the monster remains as Pakistan. The world can say anything, hitting 2 targets in Nangadhar or hitting this building and calling it that they were trying to make an attack and you have killed them in that room is semantics. It doesn't work at all. There is no credible intelligence currently, even with the US, what can happen, because all the intelligence, all the movement of terrorist activities, the bomb making material and everything in Kabul is courtesy Pakistan. So make no bones about it. Look at Pakistan, read Pakistan. Enough has been spoken, enough has been told, and time has come for these panelists to take note and not come here tom-tomming the ISI narrative which they have been taught back home and trying to tell us what is happening in actuality. There are no neighbors for
But no
Pakistan.
one believes them.
Afghanistan
Colonel
is a
Saab, no one
narco-terrorism
believes them
hotbed
anymore.
which Pakistan tried to create.
No one
And
believes
time
them
has come to
anymore.
find
That
out.
is the point. And before I come into Tariq and to Anders and to our other panelists, I want to break this important bit of information that is just coming in. It's a statement that has just been put out by the US Central Command on the defensive strike that we have seen in Kabul earlier. Now they say, and I quote them here, that the US military earlier has conducted the self-defense unmanned over-the-horizon airstrike on a vehicle in Kabul. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, very carefully. Eliminating an imminent ISIS Khorasan threat to the Hamid Karzai International Airport. They say we are confident we successfully hit the target. Significant secondary explosions from the vehicle indicated the presence of a substantial amount of explosive material. They go on to say we are assessing the possibilities of civilian casualties, though we have no indications at this time. We remain vigilant for potential future threats. Anders, how do you look at this big picture? What will happen post the 31st? Because look at the story developing and unfolding by the moment. We have reported of a rocket strike earlier on a residential area that has led to the loss of a life of even a child. I mean, for God's sake, what are we looking at?
Well, I have to agree with our colleague from Delhi in assigning blame for the Taliban, the Haqqani, the ISIS-K to Pakistani military and intelligence elements. And bigger picture, I think that China is incentivized to support this kind of thing in terms of its ally Pakistan. China gives billions of dollars to Pakistan, and with that comes influence. So if China wanted to stop the terrorism, it could easily do so by threatening to withhold those funding. Conversely, it can encourage such forms of terrorism through that funding as well. After the 31st, I think we're going to have a real bloodletting of people in Afghanistan, whether that's journalists or supporters of NATO, past supporters of NATO, translators, Sufis, religious minorities in Afghanistan will all be targeted by the Taliban. So it's a very sad situation, and it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, of course it is. Tariq, before I come to other panelists also on the broadcast from Islamabad and from Delhi, Tariq Fateh, why is the world just sitting and watching? I mean, I do not understand why you're making Pakistan a part of the solution when Pakistan is the real problem. What is stopping countries like the US who believe, Tariq, that they are the real superpowers from talking about sanctions against Pakistan?
Why would they do that? They are the ones who brought the Taliban into Kabul in the presidential palace. They are the ones who invited, after taking over the palace, handing over all the documents and material from the palace to the Pakistanis, then invite the Taliban to please come on and take over. The American hands are more bloodier in this nonsense because they simply do not consider people of this part of the world worthy of the same attention that they would do to someone from London or Paris or anywhere else. This happened right in front of them. They're talking of the targeted a terrorist attempt. They were all targeted because the Americans knew where they were. This is Mr. Biden's abandonment of any sense of foreign policy. This is what the Americans have elected. Their entire emphasis in the United States politics, if you look at the last 3-4 administrations, is a downward slide in common sense and foreign relations. Compare that to France and Britain, who are far more clear as to what's happening in this part of the world. For the Americans to bring Taliban straight into it, the trillions they say they spent in Afghanistan, they pushed it back to the United States by the private companies that were hired to train the Afghan army, then to mock the Afghan army as if they ran away. And after they withheld all information, after they took away the airstrike capability, and all the Afghan Air Force was maintained not by Afghans, but by private contractors that the Americans paid off and said, leave the country. Taliban, no doubt, is a product of Pakistan. Taliban is the source of Pakistani blackmail, not just to Afghanistan or anyone else. They simply changed the names. It's like, Diet Coke and Coke Zero, same product by the same company. I never heard of ISIS-K till about 2 weeks ago. Now everybody seems to know what ISIS-K is. Oh, Khorasan. Western journalists are educating us about Khorasan. Oh, for heaven's sake, we know this nonsense. This is Ghazwa Hind. This is why can't we say this is the fundamental basis of the destruction of India by the Deobandi? All the madrasas are in India, by the way. The Taliban follow the Islam of Deoband. This is your contribution. You still have 50,000 madrasas in India producing such jihadis. Wait for the day when they get activated. India should take a step and declare Pakistan as a state sponsor of terrorism. India cannot do that. Balochistan is fighting for independence from Pakistani occupation. India is silent on that. When you do not show that you too are a 5,000-year-old civilization, you will not take this nonsense of jihad across your borders. This is not the year 800 or the 12th century. This is the 21st century. We will not allow anyone to invade the Indian subcontinent. I don't see any BJP or Congress or CPI, anyone saying that. Everyone wants to talk to the Taliban. It's disgraceful on all levels. But let this not be a surprise, be an apology for Pakistan. Taliban were created in Rawalpindi. Taliban are trained by the Pakistan ISI. Taliban are fed by the ISI. All the armaments, the jeeps, everything comes from this. And any Pakistani who comes on this network and gives that same nonsense, oh, it is our brotherly nation. And no, your brother is India. Afghans were the people who invaded you. You cannot seem to understand that you tried this hand in Bangladesh, killed 10 million people. It doesn't work. You're killing Pashtuns in Pakistan, you're killing Baloch in Balochistan, and then you sit there, ask the Americans, could you give us a few more? No, the Chinese will squeeze you out like the East India Company, and you, by the time the Chinese are through, you won't be around to even lick their boots.
Tariq Fateh, you raised that pertinent question, I think, about a lot of regions right now and countries who want to give legitimacy to the Taliban, wanting to talk to the Taliban, acting as apologists of the Taliban. And that is also something that you've heard from Imran Khan. But before I get in, Parvaiz and Brigadier Saeed Nazir and Yasir, who still haven't spoken, there is a reaction earlier, Tariq, that you must listen to that has come in from the Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh, who's spoken about this proxy war. That message is actually for the Taliban. I just want to check with our directors if we can play out that reaction, because it'll be important. It'll be important. I think we should listen into this reaction. Then I'll get in the Delhi view from Major Manik Jolly.
Yeah, thank you, Nivi, and apologies for the dark screen. I was pretty well at home. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I just want to first of all clarify to the lady who was saying that we have not nurtured Taliban and all that. The fact is, Taliban was created by Pakistan on south side of Durand Line in their madrasas, and this was done by Foreign Minister of Benazir Bhutto, Baba Nasirullah, and the JUI, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, was responsible for carrying out the ideological training of these people. The reason of creating Taliban was after US and USSR had left, Pakistan felt that automatically the new government should gravitate towards Pakistan. But they failed to do so. And in that, Pakistan realized that, or rather this government, as we know, Najibullah was a good friend to India. So Pakistan had a lot of money left with it from the billions of dollars they had saved after, serving America. And they started to invest this into creating a kind of a force that can help them control Afghanistan. The aim of doing this was first break the overall image of Afghans, the Pakhtunwali Gairat, the honor which they have globally, and turn it into a kind of a Pakistan idealism of Islamism where they have, they can turn it into a bigger federation, which is Pakistan, Afghanistan combined. And once they had created this, they fully supported them to actually take over the government in 96, which ran till 2001. If anybody asks, I mean, it is not even a point of debate that if Taliban was created by Pakistan or not. It has been given by interviews by Musharraf. It has been even said by Imran Khan at a couple of platforms that yes, we trained them.
Yes.
The training came for the biggest terror networks in India, which was Harkatul Ansar and Hizbul Mujahideen. Used to be in Khost, Paktiya, Nuristan, all these places in Afghanistan. And one thing I definitely like to clarify for all Pakistanis who keep saying that Taliban will join the fight in Kashmir and all that. This is a pipe dream which they've been living in since 47, that somehow Afghanistan will join, or even Taliban will join their, illegitimate claims to Kashmir and join the terrorism there. Irrespective of the government, even right from the monarch that was Zahir Shah till the Taliban establishment that is today, whether it was Najibullah, whether it was any other leader, Ghani, Karzai, nobody has ever said anything that they will support Kashmir. Even Taliban from 96 to 2001, when they were coaxed, cajoled, threatened, seduced by Pakistan to take a step in Kashmir,
now,
the only thing they said is that,
Major Sahab, I'm just interrupting you here because, I think we must play out the Rajnath Singh bite, because then there is also a reaction that has just come in from Pakistan. This is what is called classically, Colonel Rohit Dev, chor ki dadi mein tinka. And this is why I said, Simi Bukhari, that the problem and the root cause is also Pakistan. But let's listen into Rajnath Singh first up, who called out Pakistan.
अब फ्रंट वार करना अब उनके बस की बात नहीं है, तो अब उन्होंने प्रॉक्सी वार का सहारा लेना प्रारंभ किया है। आतंकवाद अब उनकी स्टेट पॉलिसी का एक पार्ट बन गया है, अभिन्न अंग बन गया है, और उसने आतंकवाद का पूरा सहारा लेना शुरू किया है और आतंकियों को हथियार देना, पैसे और ट्रेनिंग देना और भारत को निशाना बनाना, केवल यही लक्ष्य रह गया है। और देश के सामने आने वाली चुनौतियों के पैराडाइम में यह मैं एक छोटा बदलाव नहीं मानता हूं, बल्कि यह मैं मानता हूं कि बड़ा बदलाव था। पर मुझे कहते हुए खुशी है कि इन बदलावों को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमने अपनी सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसीज में भी चेंजेस किए हैं। एक नए डायनेमिज्म के साथ हमने टेररिज्म के खिलाफ अपने रवैये को प्रोएक्टिव बनाया है। विगत कुछ वर्षों से हमारे पड़ोसी के साथ सीज फायर का यह समझौता चल रहा है। अभी तक तो कोई ऐसी हरकत की जानकारी नहीं मिली है, लेकिन सीज फायर भी यदि कामयाब हो रहा है तो हमारी ताकत के कारण ही यह सीज फायर कामयाब हो रहा है।
As far as the Taliban, you said Taliban military delegation. Well, they have to form a government first, and obviously, whenever they come up with an answer to how they are going to look after their security, if they seek any kind of assistance in training from Pakistan will be more than forthcoming. We were forthcoming even before, and we will be forthcoming even after that. But it has to be a government-to-government level thing. It can't be the military's decision to engage on its own.
Okay, so for the benefit of our viewers, I think it's important to put out both sides of the story. And I just hope here that our guest from Pakistan, Dr. Simi Bukhari, must have heard what the DGISPR said. So, you can't blame the media or the world for creating a fallacy, for creating a charade. The real problem lies within you, ma'am. Your own DGISPR again has spoken about the fact that you have nurtured the Taliban.
Actually, please don't take things out of context. He's talking about the recent peaceful transition of power to the Taliban. Now the government, as they're saying, they're going to make a moderate, inclusive government. So in that case, we are going to support
moderate, inclusive government led by terrorists. Where does that happen? It happens in Pakistan for sure.
They said that they.
I mean, what are you saying, ma'am? What are you saying?
Excuse me, listen to me. They say that they've learned from their mistakes.
They have learned
from their mistakes. Moderate government being led by terrorists. Where in the world have we heard that, Tariq Fateh?
They have changed some changes after 20 years. After 20 years of experience, they've learned and they're going to rectify their previous mistakes. And they
what has changed the Sharia?
Has the Sharia been changed? Nice with the people. They've given open amnesty.
Really, they have been nice with the people. Do you want me to pull out heartbreaking videos, ma'am, that we have seen and received in our newsroom throughout the day? Of eyes being gouged out, women being told you cannot move out, a singer being killed. In full public glare, another civilian who's been shot dead right in the road because he did not stop his car.
That was
Stop it, ma'am. I mean, come on. The masks are off now.
Listen.
At least apologize. Begin with an apology, ma'am.
After 20 years, they asked Pakistan to mediate, that have to have a dialogue with the Taliban. They couldn't succeed in this so-called war with them. And we were the allies. We were the allies of the Americans. We suffered the most. The most terrorist activities happened in Pakistan. We lost.
No, you were not allies.
Dollars.
Not allies.
And we had 70,000 people we lost in infrastructure was lost.
You would kill. You killed 10 million Bangladeshis. Forget about.
We were all the. Now we're talking about the Taliban. We suffered a lot in the hands of Americans, being the American ally. And now we have what can we do? We have to accept. We have to accept this. We have to wait and see if they don't behave as they're saying. Of course, Pakistan is not going to support any kind of terrorist activity. We're not going to support.
Dr. Simi Bukhari, are you listening to what you're saying, ma'am? Are you listening to what you're saying? You're telling me moderate government being led by terrorists. Colonel Rohit Devan Tariq Fateh, she's again telling us what a lot of Western media has been buzzing around, that this is a new Taliban, this is a moderate faction of the Taliban. I mean, really? Colonel Rohit there first, then I'll go into Tariq Fateh.
Yeah, sir, what can we do? We should start fighting again like America. 20 years of fight, what did they achieve?
Lady, fantastic, I'm with you.
What did they achieve?
Lady, you said you want to say, come on, please. Listen to me now.
Excuse me, please. Now you have to listen.
Since you have read the script,
terrorist activities happening in Pakistan.
No, I have listened to you.
The Taliban.
अरे हो गया ना? आप पीस के मसीहा हैं आपने बोला. मैं आपको बताता हूँ कैसे हैं.
Okay. Okay.
अरे आप बोल रहे हैं.
What you can do?
Hello. Please listen to me. Yes, I'll tell you what we can do. So Pakistan is the lapdog of the Western states, including USA. And now let me tell you how it can be. Now, hypothetically, okay, because I'm not the Minister of External Affairs, is the lapdog of the US for the last 3 decades. And whatever you are seeing happening in Afghanistan, and today what has happened is post the meeting with the CIA chief in closed doors in Kabul, which also included Pakistani informers. And these strikes of drones are nothing just to showcase to the domestic coin back in US that we are retaining the ability to strike. So having said that, put it to a side firstly. The lapdog theory is as follows, madam, for your understanding. You trace back your history in terrorism. You are tom-tomming that we are against terrorism. You are the creators. You name 100 terrorist attacks in the world in the last 10 years. You will find 98 of them have got some connection to Pakistan. So that is not something which you should put on your chest as a medal. It's a matter of shame. The utterances of your minister right now, what I heard in the Republic TV, goes to say that what kind of hold you have been trying to create surreptitiously with or without US concurrence in the last 1 decade to take over the Afghans. your foreign mercenaries who came to my country, whom Manik Jolly faced in Kashmir, were also certain elements from that same state which you are trying to control today. But unfortunately, ideologically, nobody in Afghanistan is aligned to creating a jihad in Kashmir. And let me tell you, I will, allow Imran Khan to walk in from the LC. The route to hell is open insofar as the Indian military is concerned. So don't take any cudgels with us. Don't take any compliments to say that we will get the Khorasan and everybody together into Kashmir. Not going to happen. Why is China supporting you? China is supporting you with money because China wants to extract minerals. China wants to take out the narco part from there. And China is also illegally wrong in controlling tracts of POK, which is Indian territory, and Pakistan has succumbed and gifted to China. So you are already into economic slavery. And you will be dictated the terms by China. Don't interrupt. I didn't interrupt you. Have the gumption to listen to truth. So the Messiah you're trying to be based on a WhatsApp on your phone call right now, which the ISI told you to speak on an Indian channel. We can call you out. We can call you out. You have been briefed by the ISI. Show me your phone. Show me your phone right now on the TV. I will tell you what commentary you're getting from ISI. Show me your phone. So you people don't come on channels here and tom peace. You're not peace. You are
Colonel Saab and Dr. Simi
activities across the globe.
I think there are a lot more important questions that have to be discussed, Tariq. With your permission, I want to go to three of our panelists who haven't spoken yet. Yes, I want to get in Parvaiz, Brigadier Said Nazir, and Yasir Masood, who haven't spoken yet. But Yasir, let me begin with you. You're a foreign affairs and a geopolitical expert. You're on the broadcast from Islamabad, Yasir. I mean, why is it so difficult for the world today to see what Pakistan really is made of? Why?
Okay, first thing, I would like to request that if you have the patience, audacity, and courage, you would listen to me. I can pulverize your fake narrative within a few minutes, but give me a chance to speak. First of all, the topic which was given to me today was global anger against Pakistan. I mean, it's ridiculous. Even the topic is so ridiculous for me. That why there is global anger against Pakistan, because this is your narrative which you want to even impose on your opinion, on your public as well. So don't misguide them as well. I feel sympathy for Indian public because
and Yasir, I feel sorry for you. I thought you were coming on the show as an expert who looks at the big picture. I did not know you are taking your dictation from Rawalpindi. I did not know this. I'm really sorry.
As I requested, madam, as I requested, and I'm requesting again, please, listen to me. We have been, listening to your contrived and fake lectures, program. Just give me a chance.
What is fake? Imran Khan saying that we must talk to the Taliban is fake. What is fake? Your DG ISPR saying that you've nurtured the Taliban is fake. What is fake according to you? Tell me. Is Taliban fake? Is what Taliban doing right now in Afghanistan fake?
Your Prime Minister is fake.
What is fake about the UN report 486?
Yes, let me tell you why is the global anger, and the global anger is very much justified. Why? Because the global powers, including US, including India, you have 14 consulates there. You build parliament there. You have cinemas there just to spy on Pakistan. And the worst part.
Arey, come on. Why do you think you are so important? No, Yasir. If you have a point to make on the big global picture and you want to put out an apology for having created the Taliban, the floor is all yours. Otherwise, I have two more panelists who haven't spoken yet, Yasir. The choice is yours to make.
You have to listen to me. Let me bring, on the fort, the facts and figures. Let me debunk what is emanating from your side. Let me demystify what you're coming up with.
You don't sit here and dictate and tell me what has to be done, Yasir. I will ask you questions. Those questions will haunt you. The world is asking you those questions. Your own DG ISPR, your own president, own Prime Minister Imran Khan, and speaking like a Taliban apologist. Let me try if Brigadier Saeed Nazir gets any sense to the debate then. Brigadier Saab, you are a senior associate of policy studies, Brigadier Saeed Nazir. What, according to you, sir, is the big picture here? Do you think that Pakistan will not have to bear the brunt of what goes wrong in Afghanistan?
Not at all. Not at all. The brunt is being faced by India. The Taliban are on your nerves. And Pakistan, the material is again getting in your brain, and probably you are so embarrassed. Listen, Colonel.
Oh my goodness.
ये कहाँ से लाते हैं? I'm sure you can get better Pakistanis than these guys.
Please listen. If you are
they call themselves senior associates. They call themselves foreign affairs expert. I do not understand what's going wrong here. But then let me also get in Parvaiz if he has any other solid argument to make. Brigadier Saab, please allow Parvaiz Musammin here to come on the broadcast. He's from Jakarta. Let's have him on the screen if possible, please.
If you are fair,
Parvaiz, these gentlemen from Islamabad are not seeing any sense. Do you want to tell them now that the masks are really off and they should stop this charade?
I know what Pakistan is being blamed for.
Oh please, uncle, जाओ कहीं नमाज वमाज पढ़ाओ.
Yes,
जाके तो बकरा वकरा ज़िबा करो.
running in your way because of the
Parvaiz.
I just want to say this one as an Afghan journalist, that now even a kid in Afghanistan knows that Pakistan was and is like a safe shelter for Taliban and just for other terrorist groups. It's not something, because I've been working as a journalist for more than 5 years in Afghanistan, and still I'm connected with those people. Something that I want to say here now, that a new scenario is coming in Afghanistan. That the two last explosions at Kabul airport, it shows that there is another terrorist group, IS like Khorasan, that they got the responsibility of those explosions. That will be a big examination for the Taliban, for the new government of Afghanistan, for the United States. So you see that another group, so as I read a report recently by CNN, that they had an interview with the ISIS Khorasan leader in Kabul. So they claim that we are planning to arrange more attacks as the U.S. troops withdraw Afghanistan. So you imagine that. Is it a new face of Taliban? Is it a new face of another terrorist groups? Where were they before? And how U.S. and maybe Pakistan are playing in this game in Afghanistan? I think that a new game will start in Afghanistan, and just civilians and just the people are the ones that they are victims. Coming to that news that like Pakistan, we should blame Pakistan. I don't want to speak about this one really, because I'm really tired of this one. I have been speaking about this one for more than over years, and Afghans were speaking about this one. So we come to the new government that will be in Afghanistan. Will it have an international recognition or no? Or how U.S. will play? But I want to blame the Biden's administration a decision in this point, that they left the background base at night. Imagine even the lights were off, and they didn't think about the future of Afghanistan, that another group like Taliban can take over all Afghanistan. Now Biden administration is the only side that we should put the blame finger on it. Other side, Pakistan, if we are talking about the Pakistan, that how do they play in here? I think that Pakistan now also should wake up, because if there is ISIS, like Khorasan is being activated in Afghanistan, so now the danger will go to Pakistan and other South Asian region as well, and then maybe US. So because of that one, I think that the new game in Afghanistan will be dangerous, not just for Afghanistan, for Pakistan as well.
Absolutely. Yasir, you want to quickly respond to that? You should wake up now.
Yeah, you should wake up as well, and the rest of the world has already woken up. Woken up since 2017, because United States of America, in negotiations, have already legitimized Taliban, and Pakistan is the only country under the sun which has played a very critical role, an integral role in facilitating peace process in Afghanistan. And let me tell you,
how can you speak of Taliban and peace in the same breath? I do not understand, Yasir. How can you speak of Taliban and peace in the same breath? For God's sake, Yasir.
Because they all got paid by what Khalilzadeh got paid.
Madam. If you have the courage,
Zalme Khalilzadeh is your father.
Program, please. Don't make your show a one-sided program, please. I'm from Pakistan. You have
Why
to listen
not?
to my view.
There is the people of Afghanistan, and then there are criminals like you.
What rubbish you are coming up with, and how you are living in delusion.
Okay.
Yeah, you ask your father.
The thing now is we need to start winding up. But I want to give the last word, and the last word of I think about just 10 seconds to Major Manik Jolly. He hasn't spoken much. Yasir, relax. Relax, Yasir. Last word to Major Manik Jolly as we wind up this discussion. What should we look at in the next few days, sir?
So next few days, one can understand this violence is not going to subside actually, because it definitely has the footprints of ISI involved. They want to somehow legitimize Taliban government, get it recognition, and a good way to go about that is that project them in a way that they are suffering themselves. So ISKP comes across, which always has been, again, handiwork of Pakistan, a breakaway faction from TTP actually. Now this support goes a long way. Anyway, we will not get into that. But and also I'd like to say these American strikes don't mean much actually. If they are just there to satisfy their home voters and all, they can just maybe shoot down one leader. Tomorrow morning there'll be another one. They should have sorted these things out in 20 years when they are here. This is now just still lip service going on, and whatever they are talking among themselves with ISI. So as we go ahead, as you know, the violence is going to increase. The civil war is going to come in. The factions will start fighting among themselves, and the only chance who somebody had to make this end it properly was US had. Now the world will have to review this entirely in a totally different, picture.
Absolutely. It has to be recalibrated only for want of time. But this has been a fascinating discussion. Dr. Simi Bukhari and all gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We will keep our focus on what's happening in Afghanistan as the situation continues to unfold by the moment. Thank you.